Good Yontef, Chag Sameach. It is good to be together. A few highlights for the coming week. We have the grand opening of Holy Grounds Cafe this Sunday morning from 9:30 to 12:30, I believe. Please tell your friends and neighbors it will be the place to be. Really something special. Thanks to our partners at Raffikins Inc., Holy Grounds Cafe is expertly run by neurodiverse young adults who are learning new transferable skills and the dignity of work. The coffee is delicious, and come Sunday, we can enjoy all those treats, those pastries that are not kosher for Passover, so come and enjoy. Wednesday evening, we will commemorate Yom HaShoah. There will be 6 families from the congregation, all of Holocaust survivors, who will light the 6 candles in memory of the 6 million. And Esther Fairbloom, a child survivor, will tell her story. Born in a ghetto and hidden in a Catholic church in Poland. And a special invitation to those with grown children and grandchildren, post-bar mitzvah age and up, or even pre-bar mitzvah age. Think about making an extra effort to bring them for our Yom HaShoah commemoration. They will be the final generation that has the opportunity to hear firsthand accounts. And next Shabbat, we have our scholar in residence, Cantor Benji Schiller, coming. There's a congregational Shabbat dinner. There's still room to register if you'd like, and she will be giving the sermon in song on Shabbat morning. Sometimes a book is forever called by the name of its author, like the Torah commentary in our pews, the Torah commentary we take up in our hands with Jews all over the planet. It is often referred to as the Plaut, because the compiler of its commentaries and the author of its essays was Holy Blossom's own Rabbi W. Gunter Plaut of blessed memory. And it was just recently translated into Portuguese, among the many other languages that this great book, this great gift that he gave to the Jewish people, can be enjoyed in. Sometimes, on the other hand, a person is forever called by the book that he wrote or she wrote. Reb Menachem Nachum Twersky was the great Rebbe of Chernobyl, a disciple of the Baal Shem Tov, and he is often referred to as the Me'or Einayim, which is the title of his greatest book, a collection of the teachings he gave on the weekly Torah portions and for the festivals. On this day of Yizkor, on this day of remembering, it is worth reflecting on how a contribution can become known by the person who created it, and vice versa. For example, I sometimes hear students say they go to Rotman, or they're applying to Rotman, when I know they're talking about our own Holy Blossom Temple, Joe Rotman, alav hashalom. This interplay between how we remember a human being through her accomplishments, through his creations, and how we relate to a vaccine through the name of its inventor, or how we ponder a star through the name of the one who discovered it. That is all about legacy and memory. Oftentimes in eulogies, families recall the many names by which a loved one was known through the relationships, right? In our family, we say, she was to her grandchildren a Bubby, and she was to her great-grandchildren Bibi. Or I heard in a eulogy on this day when we're remembering Michael Davis, he was known as Dr. Davis. Why do we do this? Name all the names, and I'm sure you're thinking of the people you know and you remember by many names. Because the relationships are the contributions. that last and last. Those grandchildren are her creations. Those patients are his legacy, which endure. And so I have enjoyed the insights of the Me'or Einayim, which means the illumination of the eyes. I've enjoyed it as a book of teachings for 8 or 9 years now, and sometimes I bring the Chernobylers Rebbe's teachings to our Shabbat morning Torah study here at Holy Blossom. But to be honest, I knew little about him. And so I was pleased to recently read the words of his great-great-great-grandson, a psychotherapist from New Jersey named Alter Yisrael Shimon Feuerman. When I was 6 years old, Feuerman writes, my grandfather, who was born in the town of Trisk near Chernobyl, told me a story about his great-grandfather, the Me'or Einayim. It was a classic Jewish folktale replete with archetypes: the wonder worker rabbi, the poor townspeople, a rich man, and the cold, frozen Ukrainian landscape. The story went something like this. The Rebbe came upon a village somewhere in the Pripyat marsh. The inhabitants there were so poor they had no proper mikvah. In summertime, they used the Pripyat to bathe themselves and to go to the mikvah for ritual immersion. But during the winter, this was all but impossible. Those intrepid souls who barely risked their lives because family life depended on the mikvah. Family life would not continue without it, and so the Rebbe took it upon himself to go downriver to Kiev. That city which we read so much about today, even then it was a substantial city in the 18th century, and there were some wealthy people among them. So the Rebbe asked one of the wealthier Jews of Kiev to pay for the construction of the mikvah back in the shtetl. And the conversation went something like this. May I ask you, dear sir, for 10 million rubles to pay for a mikvah in the village of Boiberik? What? Why should I pay for a small town upriver, a place I never even heard of? Well, that's what I'm asking you. Rabbi, I know you are a pious person, but we are a people of the here and now. If I fulfill everyone's requests, I would become a poor man myself. So here, take these 10 rubles, and let's be done. You are doing the Lord's work, and the good Lord will have to provide, for this is all I can do. The Rebbe prayed silently for a moment then. And then he asked, what if I told you, dear sir, that this investment would bring you great wealth? What if I told you that this gift for the mikvah would make you a tycoon, both in this world and in the next? I'm listening, said the man. The rabbi continued, I have nothing in this world, not even 2 kopecks to rub together. But I assure you, I have big wealth in Olam Haba, in the next world. So what if I deeded over to you my share in the world to come? For 10 million rubles, you will still be wealthy in this world, I'm sure, and also in the next. The wealthy man had never heard anything like this before. He thought to himself, was the rabbi mad? Who could give up their share in the world to come? Was there even a world to come at all? Who could be sure? And would a sale like this be valid? Is heavenly reward transferable? A voucher for Olam Haba? I never heard of such a thing. And as if the Rebbe had read the man's mind, he declared, yes, indeed, it is transferable. In fact, I will write up a contract at this moment. Call in 2 witnesses. Do we have a deal? It's a risk, Rabbi. It's a risk. We both have something at risk here, said the rabbi. A whole world to lose and a whole world to gain. Tell me, Rabbi, why do you do this? On behalf of some no-name village, is it really all you have? And the rabbi replied, Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha. God instructs us, Torah instructs us to love God with all our heart, with all our soul, and with all our might. That is, with all of our possessions, all of our earthly goods, said the rabbi. And because I have so little, so few earthly goods, this is my chance to fulfill that commandment. I am a poor man, but this document represents all that I have waiting for me in the world to come, and so I can only give God my all by giving it over to you. The rich man was so moved, he was moved to tears. And he shook his head and he admitted this may be utter foolishness, foolish piety, but let's do it. And so 2 witnesses were called in and the documents were signed and they arranged for the transfer of funds. They shook hands and the wealthy man said to the rabbi, "You are the luckier of the 2 of us. How rich the reward in the next world must be for a person like you, who has given everything he has." So Feuerbach, the psychotherapist, recalls, "I confess that when I was younger, I cynically saw the holy man's gambit. It was a gimmick, because by this trick, he would receive an even bigger share in the world to come. By selling his status as a tzaddik in the here and now, surely the rabbi would be doubly rewarded in Olam Haba for taking such a personal risk here on earth. All to keep just a few shtetl Jews from freezing in the river." Was it a hustle? Feuerbach asks. Yes, it was a holy hustle. The rabbi, as a masterful teacher, found the language of his student, the businessman, to create a nexus between the transactional and the transcendent. And we do this too as religious people, as believing people. We did this less than a week ago at our own Seder tables. After feasting ourselves silly over 4 cups of wine, we opened the door and serenaded Eliyahu HaNavi, beckoned him to join us and witness the goodness that each one of us can yet contribute through our God-given liberties. "See how we pledge to make the world more whole," we say to Eliyahu HaNavi. "See how through our deeds and our generosity the world can become more just, more kind, more free for all humanity." And we conclude that lengthy ritual with the words of the Haggadah, "Bashana haba'ah b'Yerushalayim." This year we are slaves, next year free people. This year in Mitzrayim, the narrow places of constriction, but next year we will be in Yerushalayim Habnuyah, the Jerusalem that is rebuilt in the heavenly realm, where everything and everywhere is peace. So on this day of Pesach, remembering and redemption, we must ask ourselves, what investments in the here and now will we make for the sake of forever? What will we give of our time and our talent and our treasure for the sake of Olam Haba? And I don't mean this only in terms of tzedakah, although that is a primary way our tradition teaches us. there are other real ways to invest in Olam Haba. What contribution are you making to the eternal Jewish people? What will be your forever legacy? How will you reinforce the legacy of those you have loved and lost and are honoring this day? Some say the pandemic has left us languishing, just existing day after day. Yizkor days are not only for remembering the dead, they are also for honoring them with our very own lives. So let us take Pascal's wager. Let us exceed ourselves. Let us move from the transactional to the transcendent. Legend has it that the Rabbi of Chernobyl saw that mikveh built in the small town. But what became of him in the world to come? Feuerbach asked his father desperately, what became of him? And his father shrugged his shoulders and gestured towards the bookcase with the Talmud and other holy books, including the Me'or Einayim, the Rebbe's masterwork. And the father told the son, that is his world to come. He's in there. He's in that holy book. And Feuerbach explains that at that moment he caught a glimpse of his great-great-great-grandfather, the Me'or Einayim, because there is a flow between the worlds. The Chernobyl Rebbe teaches us that the next world and this world are not separate units. There is an ebb and a flow between them. We create that ebb and flow exactly now with these prayers of Yizkor. And we can imagine that ebb and flow that our ancestors witnessed when they walked from one side of the sea to the other. The first side rooted in the here and now with all its burdens and all its trials and all its pressures and pains. But they had enough imagination and enough faith to imagine a world on the other side, a world on the horizon, a world filled with prayer and promise. And that is always the world to come. That is the world that we catch a glimpse and a glimmer of at this moment. That is the sea that we cross in order for this precious and all too brief reunion with our beloveds. Page